you said to live a life that is inconsistent with it. Can you elaborate?
That is consistent with it?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you talk about it more?
Yes. So we first of all realize there is experience. There is the knowing of experience. There is just knowing. Knowing is the stuff that all experience is made of, but is not limited by any particular experience. In other words, it has no limits. It is infinite. Experience is made out of one indivisible substance. It appears as a multiplicity and diversity of objects and selves. But if we explore that multiplicity and diversity, we find this single, intimate, indivisible, indestructible knowing. So let's take the first implication of this, or one implication of this. There seem to be lots of different selves, all separate and finite, and we seem to be one of those selves. But all those selves, the knowing with which all those selves know their experience is the same infinite, indivisible knowing. The name that each of us gives to that is I. This knowing, this infinite knowing, shines in each of our finite minds as the knowledge I, or I am. It means that the I that each of us refers to is the same I. It's why we only have one name for it. It's why all 7 billion of us call ourselves by the same name. It is to indicate that we are, at the deepest level, the same infinite, indivisible being. Now, the common name for this recognition, the common word that we use for this recognition is love. Love is the experience of our shared being. So I'm not talking of some extraordinary mystical experience that a few rarefied people have. It is something that everybody knows. When we feel love, do we not feel, to a greater or lesser extent, that the distinctions and separation between ourself and the other dissolves? Isn't that what to be in love is? It is to be one with the other. That is not an extraordinary feeling that comes upon us from time to time. It is actually the recognition of how things are. It is the recognition that at the deepest level our minds share their being. So that would be one implication, is that we know and therefore treat all others, including all animals, as our very own self. And we therefore treat them as we would want to be treated. That has a huge implication. But then we don't stop with people and animals, because the very being that all objects share is the same being that we are. So we don't just treat all others and animals as ourselves, we treat everything. You see, things, objects, don't have their own existence. All seeming things borrow their apparent existence from God's infinite being, the same infinite being from which each separate self borrows its selfness. So, as the Sufis say, wherever the eye falls, there is the face of God. But the face of God is not some extraordinary being external to us. It is the very being that shines at the heart of each of our minds as the knowledge I, or I am. It is the light or the knowing which illuminates all our experience. And as all there is to experience is the knowing of it, it means God's infinite being is the entirety of experience. It means everything, all seeming things, because there are no real things separate or apart from God's infinite being or infinite consciousness. It means all objects and selves are colorings of the same infinite consciousness. And each finite mind just brings a segment of that infinite consciousness into manifestation. So there are enormous implications. Just ask yourself, whenever you are thinking, choosing, relating, acting, just check. Before you continue with the line of thinking, the relationship, the activity, is this line of thought, is this activity I'm engaging in, is the quality of relationship I'm having with this person or animal or object, is it consistent with this deep feeling understanding that all objects and selves share their being? They are all essentially one. And then if the answer is yes, then just continue with the activity, the relationship, the thought. But if no, rather than continue it, we should pause and check the premise of the thought or the activity or the relationship. Is it coming from a sense of being a temporary, finite, limited, separate self? Or is it a thought, feeling, activity or relationship that is expressing the infinite reality of all experience?
What if the other side doesn't have this understanding?
Just keep going in the same way. That doesn't mean to say that we allow ourselves to be mistreated or abused. It doesn't mean to say that if we see something that we feel is not consistent with love and understanding, we just pass by with a smile on our face. No, we will respond moment by moment to the situation. It doesn't mean always saying yes with a smile on our face. It's necessary to say no, and sometimes very firmly. But whatever we say, whatever we do, whatever we think, will be deeply informed by this feeling understanding. And then we tailor this understanding to each situation that arises, including being confronted by an apparent person or situation that doesn't share this understanding. We do our best to respond appropriately and practically, but our response is informed by this understanding. It might have to be a very firm response. Sometimes when my son was younger and I had tried every possible way to get him to stop doing something that was inappropriate, I would say to him, "Sweetie, if you do that once more, I'm just going to lose it with you." Because it was the only resource I had left. And sure enough, he would tempt me and he would do whatever it was he was doing one more time, and I would lose it with him. And it would work. It was the kind of last resort. Now, my losing it with him was an expression of my deepest love and understanding. I had tried everything else. I had tried all the reasonable ways. Explanation, encouragement, distraction. I had tried everything. There was just nothing left. It was the only thing. All that was left to me was to lose it. I would even warn him. I so disliked doing it. It left such an impression on my body, let alone his having to lose it. It didn't happen very often, I have to say. It was very occasional, but I would even warn him, hoping that that might be enough. You remember last time I did this? You hated it. You burst into tears, and he would just go straight there again. But it was an expression of my love.